Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Lewis, editor of Building Enclosure. Thanks for listening along with us today. On February 12th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we have a free webinar titled Mod-Bit Roof Assemblies, Where Old Meets New. I'm joined today by our presenters, Andrea Wagner-Watts, the Building Science Education Manager for GAF, CPLAS's Building and Roofing Science Team, and Benjamin Runyan, the Director of Product Management for PVC and Mod-Bit Systems at GAF. They are both here today to chat about what to expect during the presentation. Andy and Benjamin, thanks for sitting with us.
Thanks for having us.
So to start off, what are the benefits of ModBit?
So I'll take that. So the benefits of modified bitumen and even BUR systems are really that multiply redundancy that you're going to see in a roof system that's going to add to that durability. There's also some benefits inside the actual bitumen blend that's enclosed on one of those reinforcement sheets. Typically, it's low temperature flexibility, some ultimate elongation and tensile and tear strength based on what you want in that reinforcement, whether you're choosing a 6163 reinforcement, which is a glass fiber, or a 6164, which is a polyester, or a combination of the two, which is a ASTMD 6162 membrane.
And we'll get into what all of those numbers mean in the webinar.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just going to ask too, can you chat briefly about the chemistry behind the products and how that comes into play for final material performance?
Yeah, absolutely. So for a modified bitumen membrane, typically you've got your reinforcement, and then from there, in the manufacturing process, they put a modified bitumen on that. In that modified bitumen, there are fillers and different types of raw materials that go into that asphalt flux or that bitumen, which again we'll get into more detail. But ultimately, there are some polymers that are put in, whether it's an APP or an SBS membrane. APP is atadic polypropylene. It's a different polymer that's more plastic, a little more rigid and hard, and it has different characteristics that we'll go over during the presentation. SBS is styrene, butadiene, styrene. There are different characteristics to a polymer like that. It's a little bit more rubber based, so it's elastic. It'll expand. There's a little bit of more elasticity to that. Kind of think of a rubber band, but we can go through all that. And then in a BUR system, built up roof is what that stands for. It's an oxidized asphalt, so there's no polymer really that's introduced in there. It's just more blown asphalt, more air into the asphalt, which creates a more robust type assembly, which is kind of what roofing used to be, and it transitioned over to these modified systems. But we'll cover all that in the presentation and the chemistry and kind of some of the benefits behind each one of those three technologies.
Now, I'm sure you'll be going over this more in detail during the presentation too, but I wanted to ask, what are some options when it comes to application methods, finishing and capping?
Now, I think this is one of the coolest things about mod-bit systems is that depending on the part of the country you're in, depending on the building type and your options for access, mod-bit systems have all kinds of different ways to actually be installed. They can be self-adhered, they can be mechanically attached, we can hot mop, we can do cold applied. So we can, you have choices that go along with that chemistry that Ben just talked about. So there's a lot of different ways to mix and match to get the right roof for your project. And then what we put on top, what it's going to ultimately look like, how it's going to wear can vary too based on the needs of the project. We can do slag with granule. We can do a granule top sheet on a mod bit that can be anything from a dark color to high solar reflective index. We can do a single ply on top of it to get the benefits of that. We can do a liquid applied membrane if that's the needs of the project. So lots of different options, lots of different pros and cons for each, and really able to find the best roof for your project.
Now, what are some most common misunderstandings about ModBit, and what should our audience know when specifying these systems?
So a lot of times I hear, the cost. Cost is a big thing, right? You're doing multiple plies, so there's going to be additional labor associated with that. I would, venture to say, look at that system, look at the durability. We're talking about upwards of 240 mils of thickness. So that's your protection on top of your roof. You got to protect the components in that roof system, whether it be the cover board, the insulation, which is typically the most expensive part of your roof, by adding a nice durable thick system on top. A single ply membrane is typically around 60 mils. We're talking about double, triple, sometimes quadruple that thickness in the durability aspect of that top membrane. So that kind of adds a little bit of benefit to the building owner long term during the service life of that system that's installed. I would say another thing is they're very easy to repair. Really, you just got to heat up the membrane, and that bitumen will go back to kind of a natural state, so you can easily repair those. And then there's some sustainability, which I think we'll talk about a little bit too, aspects to it, where once you put an asphaltic roof system down, there's lots of different options to kind of go over that system. I think we'll talk about that. But these systems, just because of their durability, their low temp flexibility that they have there, there's and the vast ways to apply these membranes, the different surfacing types and stuff. There's just a lot of options for our customers and for the building owner to really get into a system that's going to be the best solution for their building. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit during that presentation. So looking forward to that part.
Now, will you guys be going over any case studies during the webinar?
We definitely will. We're going to, throughout the presentation, we'll have examples of different type of projects that have used these different types of assemblies. We'll highlight a couple projects specifically, but really give examples to show when each of these types of chemistries were the right choice for that project, and explain to attendees exactly why they were chosen, which I think is the most important part.
One thing I'll say, the nice thing about Mod Bit, I mean, you can put them on small buildings, so a small small restaurant or a little shop, but they've also been used on these huge massive data centers. So there's a huge variety of building types, different deck types that an architect or specifier or even consultant could be talking about with their customers. So at the end of the day, these roof systems have been time tested, and they've been installed on multiple types of buildings, big or small. So it's going to be exciting to kind of talk about some of those case studies.
Now, lastly, I want to ask, what else will attendees learn during the presentation?
So Ben touched on it a little bit earlier, but one of the things I think that's going to be interesting for folks is we are going to share several examples where Mod Bit, which may in the back of your head think dark roof, may not be able to be used in some parts of the country now that building codes are changing and we need to meet these high solar reflective index numbers. We're going to show several different examples of different ways that we can use Mod Bit systems and still meet those requirements, and also talk about some unique products that help you meet some other sustainability goals for your project. So I think that's going to be really interesting for folks who may not have viewed Mod Bit in that way in the past.
Well, thank you both again for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to it.
To register for this free webinar, head to continueducation.bnpmedia.com. Until next time, visit us on buildingclosureonline.com for your educational and technical resources.